Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Clio Exchange Express, the conversation about the past, present, and future. A lively discussion between friends, family, pundits, personalities, and potentates, if necessary, in order to teach and learn something new. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the hour. Let's go to the show already in progress. Well, hi there. Welcome on board the Clio Exchange Express. I'm Lou Phillips, one of your host conductors for this journey. And this show, as you've already heard, is dedicated to making life stops that will educate, inform, and inspire. And like always, I'm joined by co-host George Chandler in London and Rudy Rollins in New Brunswick. Hey, George, what's happening on your side of the Atlantic, brother?
How you doing? How you doing, Lou? Everything's happening over here in London. It's good to be here. It's good to be on the Clio Express, and I'm looking forward to the ride tonight.
All right, all right. What about you, Rudy? How things in New Brunswick, Rudy?
Aha! Everything is wonderful, my brother. Wonderful.
We were just worrying about you. What happened?
Well, you didn't look over your shoulder, but you didn't notice I was right behind you. I thought I'd surprise you today because we have this very important guest today. So without further ado, let's get it on, the Clio Express.
All right, all right. Listen, our life stop today, as you've already kind of expressed, Rudy, is going to be real special because it's having to do with the life of the fourth member of the group. Now, as you guys know, and we all kind of talked about this the last time around, there really is more than four inside the four Kents of Italy. Don't you agree?
Sir,
absolutely.
Okay, and so we want to remind the listening audience that there are more than four affiliated with this group. And I also hasten to add that you'll get a chance to meet them all. Anyway, our guest this evening or today is another living example of how you can essentially come from nowhere, figuratively speaking, that is, go somewhere and do things that impact everywhere. How you like that, George?
Oh, I think that's fantastic. I couldn't put it better myself.
All right, brother. And of course, when you're talking about music, the impact one person can have reaches far beyond just where they are. It can go places that are really unimaginable to the artist, and certainly to those who enjoy that artist's music. But before we bring on our guests, I got a couple of questions for George and Rudy. Are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
I'm ready.
Live
okay.
in color.
All right, wonderful. Now, did you hear about the hungry clock?
No, I didn't hear about that. No.
No, me neither. No.
You didn't hear about it?
No.
It went back 4 seconds.
Oh.
You get it?
Yeah, I do get it.
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, George,
But let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, let me ask you this. Why did the elephant paint his toenails red?
So he could see it?
No, so he could hide in the cherry tree.
Okay. Yes.
Hey,
We
George.
need help.
one more, and then we'll get to the guest, okay?
All right.
What do you? Yes, we do, Rudy. One more. You'll like this one. You'll like this one. What do you get from a pampered cow?
I don't know. What do you get from a pampered cow?
Yeah,
spoiled milk.
Yeah, boy, we have a good one on this one here, boy. I see it now.
Yeah, I can hear them rolling in the aisles. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go from being hilarious as we normally are with these little things to bring our guest to the microphone. Listen, our guest today is a product of Alabama, growing up in Greensboro, Alabama, in the home of Benjamin and Alice Cannon. He was introduced to music early in life when he joined the St. Paul Baptist Church's children's choir, which led him to attending an art school in Greensboro, which focused on developing young, talented musicians. His training at the school was primarily focused on classical music. And throughout his development, he really had no experience at all with popular music, which clearly changed later on in his life. In the early 60s, he was caught up in the passion of the civil rights movement in Alabama that circled around the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and Brother Abernathy, and he became active as a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome as a guest on board the Clio Exchange Express, all the way from Rome, Italy, Charles Boom Boom Cannon. Hey, Charlie.
Yeah. How y'all doing, man? It's good to be here. Good to be on board tonight. Yeah.
Charlie Boom, Charlie
Boom.
Boom.
Good to be on board. Yeah. Hello to all the listeners. Hello to all the people that are listening in, you know, and I'm just glad to be here. Yeah. Glad to be here.
Well,
so how y'all doing?
Thrilled.
Okay.
We're doing just great, Charlie, and we're just thrilled to have you on. And I know later on in the show, somebody's going to ask you, and you're going to have to tell us how you got that nickname, Boom Boom. But in the meantime, I know the size and scope of Greensboro, Mississippi. But tell me, what was it like growing up in a major metropolitan area like that?
Like Greensboro, Alabama. Okay.
What did I say, Mississippi?
You said Mississippi, but I mean Mississippi is just right around the corner. So I mean, you didn't go off track too much, you know.
Same difference. Same difference.
All right, boom.
Yeah, you didn't go off track too much. Anyway, man, Greensboro is a little small town, really small town, and like a lot of times when I joke with people, I said, now if you close your eyes when you pass it through, you might miss it. So I said, so stay awake, you know. And when I was a little boy, like Greensboro was more prosperous, you know, as far as I'm concerned, more prosperous than it is now, because at the time in Greensboro, you had like at least a bus pass through, train pass through. And you had taxi cabs, you know. And instead, in Greensboro now, you don't have any buses passing through, no taxi cabs. If you ain't got a car, you out there, you know. So that's what Greensboro is about today. No jobs, you know, no opportunities opening up for young people, for anybody, you know.
Yeah.
They just don't let anything in, you know. It's closed. It's just closed out, man. I mean, the only thing that you can look forward to is go back to see who you left there. You know, whoever's still there. I mean, that's unfortunately what Greensboro is all about. Even the little small towns around Greensboro are very prosperous. They're growing. You know. Work opportunities are opening up for people, you know, and it's just Greensboro that's missing, you know.
Yeah. Was it back then a predominantly African American community, and is it that now?
Well, definitely. You know, but it doesn't mean anything. I mean, you know, whether you have the, you know, predominantly or this or that. I mean, predominantly black doesn't mean anything there because, you know, they have no real control over anything. You know what I mean? So well, that's what it's all about.
I was asking that question because it probably speaks to why there's no industry there and all of the other communities around it are prospering. And I wondered, during your time growing up there, was there a serious divide between black and white?
Well, it was a total divide, between black and white. I mean, everything was segregated at the time, because we're talking about around, from like 19, like the end of the 50s, the 60s, That's what we're talking about. So everything was divided. I graduated from an all-black school, you see. Yeah, because everything was segregated at the time. The facilities in town, everything was divided. We here, us here, and you all there, and so forth and so on. So
right.
So that's the way it was. That's the way it was back then.
I see. Well, there's another Southern boy. There are two other Southern boys on this call, and then we got a Yankee. So, but George, you got an answer? You got a question?
Yes, I can. I was just listening to Charlie explaining. Basically, what he was saying is what the South was like. I mean, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and everything was segregated when I grew up as well. I went to a segregated school. But so I can understand and relate to what he's talking about. What I want to ask you this: in all of this, what was your first contact with music? I mean, and how old were you when it happened to you?
Well, you might not believe this, but my first contact with music was before I was born, when my mama was carrying me around, man, because my mama was a great singer. She used to sing all the time, and I think I'm quite sure she transmitted that to me before I was born. But so because I came out loving music, man, I just grew up loving music. My first contact, after I was born was in the third grade. My third grade teacher saw something in me, and she said, "You got to sing lead in the choir." And I remember the first time I got up, and it was a song by, I'll never forget it. It was a song by Perry Como, which was called "Touch a Little Star and Put It in Your Pocket, Never Let It Fade Away."
I know that
That's what
song.
it was, man. Yeah. And
how
so
about that?
So she came up and she used to, teach me, man, with a little small guitar all the time, because that's what she used to play. And so I became member of the choir and lead singer in the choir, and that was it. From then on, I've been singing from then on, man. And I used to play trumpet too.
Did you have a favorite singer at that time when you were that young? Like 12, 13, 14. Did you have a favorite singer?
Well, I tell you what. My favorite singers were like the people, the singers that were around when, like the people that I saw singing in church, because those were my, my idols and, my models and everything, because my mother and my grandmother, they had me go to church every Sunday. You had to go to Sunday school. You had to, so. And so it was just, the people singing around. And my teacher that was teaching me, so, because I wasn't much into radio and stuff like that, so. So those were my the people that inspired me, the people that were around me, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
well, just as,
sorry.
Hey, I was just going to say, just as a follow-up, Charlie. So your focus in school was on classical music. Is that what they principally directed you toward?
What what it was. After elementary school, I had two teachers, Mrs. McCaskill and Mr. Black, and they would never let us sing like popular music and stuff like that, because you had to concentrate on the classical music. So there were years and years that passed before I could even start really. I had to hide somewhere and try to get into funky music or rhythm and blues and stuff like that, because it was prohibited to sing anything like that when you study classical music, so.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way it was back there,
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. I'm sorry, Rudy, I cut you off. Go right ahead.
No, I was going to ask Boom. Up until Boom, they used to call me the militant midget back in the day in the group, right? I always had a chip on my shoulder. I think George gave me that name. And I was just wondering, man, you were the first guy who I ever met who actually was on the front line, man. Back in the day, and I just want to know how was that, man?
The front line rip was something that was really, when I think about it today, I think about it as if I was really wasn't conscious of what I was doing, in the sense that how dangerous it was, what I was going through. I just felt it was something I had to do, and I did it, And the thing
how old were you at this time?
Well, I was, started out, from 14.
I see.
Wow. 14.
Yeah,
wow.
14. And at 16, that was when we were. I remember that Dr. Martin Luther King and Reverend Abernathy were frequently, coming through Greensboro, because there were mass meetings and so forth and so on, I think he's the mayor or he's the governor, Andrew Young. Andrew Young, of Georgia. Well, they were all around, man, and what happened is that we joined the movement of NAACP, and what happened was we had to always, whenever we went out to demonstrate for civil rights and so forth and so on, because what happened was you couldn't, the federal law said, the vote was, everybody had the right to vote, everybody, whether you could read, write, whatever. If you were an American citizen, you had the right to vote.
Right.
But in Hale County, like in Greensboro, Alabama, you couldn't vote if you were black, you see. Yeah, if you were black and didn't have and couldn't read and write, that's it. If you were black and couldn't read and write, well, then you couldn't vote, you see. And that was just a local law, because the federal law had told everybody that that you have the privilege to vote. So what we used to do, we when I say we, I'm talking about the students, my friends and students that were in the movement. They came, and we used to go around and teach in the school, in the churches, teach the elderly people how to read and write, And that's what we used to do, and so that way they could, tell me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Charlie, that was a tremendous time for you, driven, I would think, mostly by what had happened in your life in terms of dealing with the other culture there in Alabama. Now, before you respond to that, let me explain something to our listening audience. You hear Charlie doing a lot of pausing as he answers questions, searching for words. That's only because he's lived in Italy so long, the boy's forgotten some of our words.
Yeah, man, it's been over 40 years since I've been here, so y'all just bear with me, even the listening public. Bear with me, because a lot of times I have to look for words and look for phrases, because I speak Italian every day, so bear with me. You see.
So tell me. Go back to your story.
Yeah. You see, what we used to do, we used to go and look up, the federal programs that were offered, to farmers, because Greensboro, Alabama is normally, just a farm area, where, so. And most of the people didn't know about the federal programs where they could, get money and help their businesses and help out whatever they had to do to make ends meet, farming. So we used to go look up the programs and turn the people on, the farmers, onto the programs and show them how to get to get into the program, to get money to support their activity. You know what I mean? So that's what we used to do too. And that wasn't really healthy. I mean, as far as we were concerned, because people didn't like that, because that was meaning you were diverting money from one part to another, and you know. So
well, that's what I was going to say.
Boom, I have a question. I have a question. When you were doing your civil rights work during this time, were there white civil rights workers working along with you?
Yeah, but they were the major part of them were young people that came from up north.
I hear you.
Yeah, they came.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they came from up north.
One of the reasons I asked that question is because it seems that a lot of times when we tell the story, a lot of times we forget the white people who came down.
No, but they were really
and some of them died.
Yeah, they were present, and some people even some of them even lost their lives,
That's right.
Participating. And those I want to tell you that those like us were the believers, man. Because if you didn't believe, if they didn't believe, they wouldn't have been there. You see, and so you had to have a strong constitution, to support that type of environment, because the environment was really heavy.
So Charlie, I would assume that you had to spend some time in jail as well.
Well, they did. I was arrested, Phil. I wasn't talking about that too much, but I was arrested.
Does that mean they're looking for you now?
No, I mean it's over. It's over now. It's over. It's over now. I mean, but they.
Well, those are battle wounds, Charlie, that you can be proud of, and in fact, it demonstrates that you were a fighter, or maybe saying it in the words of Martin Luther King, you were a drum major for justice, and in fact, we just got a caller who joined the call who is probably somebody you'd recognize because he was a real fighter. This is a guy that put on gloves, boy, and knocked you out. Hey, Stanley Evans.
Hey, man. Hey, Charlie Boone.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm hanging in, man. How you been?
Yeah, fine. It's good to hear from you, man. It's good to hear your voice. Yeah.
Good to hear your voice too, man. Good to hear your voice too. We've been planning and waiting on this conversation, man. It's very interesting, man.
Definitely, man.
So, Charlie, by the time Uncle Sam sent you a letter regarding military service, you were probably ready to move on to something else, right?
Definitely. You see, what happened was after so much, because I didn't really go deep into what was happening. But when we used to demonstrate, the peaceful demonstration, no arms, anything. And people used to come out of the stores with chains and irons and stuff and beat up on us, man. And the police would just stand and watch, So after a certain time, I just said, well, okay, man, it's good the nonviolence and everything, that's hats off to that, But I think you can only take so. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you can only take so much. So I finally got the chance to hook up with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And there were two other guys, working with me in my area, and we were doing the same thing, like opening people's eyes to what they could do to get benefits from certain programs, federal programs, and so forth and so on. And these two guys, they were from Selma. And what happened was, we joined the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and they had another principle, which was eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So if anything happens to me, it's going to boomerang. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
did that lead you to the military?
No, I think that brought the draft up for me, because I was eligible for the draft, you see. And the two guys that were working with me, but they got drafted too. Everybody got sent to different places, you see.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you think the government kind of had something to do with that?
Well, it could have been. I mean, I can't put my finger on it, but
right.
But I've got a suspect, I got a suspect, so because there were different representatives that came to the House, from the Army, from the Navy, Air Force, and so forth, Marines. And I finally decided to volunteer because you had a lot of dividends volunteering. And one of those dividends was the fact that you could decide where you wanted to do your military service, apart from the fact that you made more money. So that was one beautiful thing that I decided, I wanted to do my military service. And at the time they had Vietnam was they had Vietnam was strong at that time, you see.
Right.
So I didn't want to go to Vietnam. To tell you the truth, no, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go there. So I decided to do my military service in Europe. I didn't know much about Europe, Coming from Greensboro, man, I knew very little about Europe. So, but I had, heard people talking about, Germany, this, that, and the other, and it was all positives, positive sayings, So I said, okay. When they asked me where I wanted to do my service, I said in Europe, but I didn't stay in no specific place. So they sent me to Germany, and after Germany, well, then my final destination was Italy.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after this stop on the Underground Railroad.
What? Clio Exchange Express and the Underground Railroad tour is leaving the station. Next up, Mount Pleasant, Ohio. Mount Pleasant was established by an Irishman from Virginia and a Quaker from North Carolina in 1803, and it played an important role in the fight against slavery. It was an important station on the Underground Railroad because it was a refuge for fugitive slaves and a place that freedmen could call home. In fact, the residents of Mount Pleasant would not allow any item to be sold in their stores if it was produced from slave labor. The village of Mount Pleasant was an oasis in the desert of slavery. The Mount Pleasant Historical Society in Mount Pleasant, Ohio, offer walking tours that will give you a glimpse of that long-ago era. This is Lou Phillips. Join us again next time on the Underground Railroad tour on the Clio Exchange Express.
Now, were you shocked when you got to Germany?
Very shocked. I'm telling you, man, I'd never seen nothing like that before, man. Because it only, I'd only seen snow one time in my life, and that was when I was in Greensboro. I got to Germany, man. Everything was white. The field was snow, and it was cold, man. The field, I had never felt so cold in my life. Because that's why I never went out, never went anywhere. It was too cold, man. Too cold. Yeah, it was too cold. I never went out in Germany. Never.
Yeah.
When I got to Italy, So
go ahead.
When I got to Italy, it was, it was another story, man.
Okay, George.
Really
I think you got a question.
Yes. When you got to Italy, and when you met these guys talking about forming a group, what was your reaction to that?
No, but the first dude I remember was this PFC that was on my case. You see, because like when you come out of training, man, you green and you don't know nothing. So you think everybody that's got a stripe on, that's got a stripe on it, is somebody that's really, something that's commanding. I was so scared when the PC come up, man, and then when I come up to find out, I said, well, ain't nobody. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody to be afraid of. So one day, man, I was out walking, and I don't remember exactly who it was, and I was kind of like humming or something. They said, and one of y'all, man, I can't remember whether it was you, whether it was Armstead, Snake, or Rudy, that said, hey, man, you sing? I said, man, I try. He said, well, why don't you? He said, we forming a group, man, so why don't you come down to the service club tonight? We got a rehearsal. And I said, what time? So he said, well, you told me the hour, and I was there. And I came in and heard, hummings and everything going. I said, check this out. I hadn't seen it, done it in popular music, man, So I wasn't too up on it, but I knew harmonies, you see, because I had studied harmonies, you see. I knew harmonies, okay. and I had a voice. And so I said, well, let me just fall in. I learned, Got over, man, and from the first time I went down to the club, that was the first and always time, because I was always there, from then on. I was always there, man. Yeah. And I remember one night, we were looking, they were looking for, it was Rudy that was missing, and he came and he sang a song. What was that song?
Ooh, baby,
ooh, baby. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I said, okay. So everybody fell in on, so like I told you, I knew harmonies now. And I could always fall in on what was missing, you see. And that was it, man. That was it. And I was always in the group from then on, man, and that's always my group, man. I'm telling you, the Kents, that's my group,
yeah.
And it's
hey, Phil.
Yeah.
See, I know I didn't bring him, and I know Rudy didn't do it. George may have done it, but I think it was Robert Armstead. It was Armstead. It was Robert Armstead, that told him, hey, man, sing. Yeah. So we want to keep the record straight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see, that's because I don't remember too well, man. That was like I'm telling you, man, that was
a whole bunch of years ago.
A whole bunch of years ago,
yeah.
Hey, Rudy, Rudy,
yeah.
You got a question, I think.
Yeah, Boom. When all was said and done, and we had a very nice run, then all of a sudden we was in 3.
Yeah.
What you thought about that, man? We was in 3.
Man, it was hard at first, because we were always, how you say, we always had, the thing of the leader, and our leader was George, So to be to come in and fill in all of that, it was kind of hard to regroup. But then we did it, man. We did it with people, the musicians that believed in what we were doing, and we regrouped, and the agent in Rome, where you remember reading, the guy that's always shaking, hands shaking, when he was used to smoke and we used to drink,
Let me ask you this: after I left the group, did you ever consider replacing me with somebody else?
No. We never. We never considered that. We considered, going ahead, in 3. So that's what we did, and so we went on a tour. We went on a tour in Iran, and we were supposed to be on this tour for a month. And the group was kicking, man. The group was popping. So there were a whole lot of other groups there too, on the show. So we had about 2 Iranians group. We had 2 dance dance groups. One from I don't remember whether it was from Poland or where, but it was a whole gang of blonde girls that were dancing, and we had a group from Switzerland. Huh? How's that?
Georgia Gibson.
Yeah, we had this group from Switzerland, man. Yeah, this group from Switzerland. They were good too. They were good. They had a percussionist, 2 girl singers, and I don't remember what else. And then we had like there was a girl that was belly dancing from Italy, a magician. Got a lot of people on the show. And
hey, Charlie, was this show in a club or was it on a military base as well?
It was in a big hotel. The hotel had a great big show. And what they used to do, they used to come and they used to eat dinner and and it was showtime, with all of the groups and so forth that were there. And what happened was, man, something went wrong. And the magician, one night, he was the guy's son, the owner of the hotel. His son was always on the magician's case, and so the magician couldn't take it anymore and he knew that there were like bodyguards. The owner had bodyguards and they had machetes. They all had machetes on. I'm telling you,
that's right, man. That's right. That's really true.
Hey, make the story short.
Yeah, machetes, man, and all of how you say the karate, all into karate and stuff, man. So what happened is they you had to be reluctant, about your reactions, So what we did, we
Phil, to make a long story short, those guys put that boy in the hospital, man.
Ooh, was that right?
I mean, they beat the living crap out of that guy. I mean, they damn near killed him. They put that guy in the hospital.
Man. So just to tell you what type of situation we were in. So they didn't want to pay us, the tents. They didn't want to pay us, man.
Well, hey Charlie, just to put a pin in that. After experiencing all of that, you didn't have much to say about not getting paid, did you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, Phil.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I talked to, man. I mean, I told you I was like a big crazy man. I wouldn't. That's the way I was back then, man. That's the way I was back then. So so I went up and I complained about the money. So I even went to the embassy, man. I went everywhere. And finally, they gave me a little cash money. And then I was able to get the guys out because the month was almost over. And I was able to get the tickets for the band to get back to Italy. But they had my passport, and so I couldn't get out. That was in 1973. So I couldn't leave, So finally, I had to stay I stayed another month. But in that month time, they gave me post-dated checks, for the rest of the money that we were supposed to get. And but they were post-dated Iranian checks, you see. So what would I do with that outside of Iran?
I tell you.
You know what I mean?
They had you locked down.
So what I did, we had made acquaintances with different people, good people, and what they did, they said, "Well, I tell you what, you give me when you get the check, I give you the money because I get my endorse the check to me, and I get my money." Okay, so that happened with the major part of the money until we had as soon as we got there, we met this brother. I don't remember where he was from. His name was Leroy, and he had married.
Leroy, was that Bill Gaddis?
No.
No.
And the guy, man, he came and he made friendship with us. He was with us almost, every day. And do you know he had married somebody, some far-fetched relative of the Shah, and he had three restaurants, man. He had 3 restaurants, this guy, and was doing really well. So I was left with a check, $1,500. That's the last check. So I told him, I said, Leroy, I said, man, you're doing pretty well. I said, look, why don't you, like the other people did, change this check for us, you know, and you get your money, you know, when the check is, you know, is available to be changed. He said, no, man, no, don't worry, bro. Don't worry. I'll tell you what, bro. You give me the check, man. Y'all don't have to worry about nothing. Don't worry about nothing. I'm gonna send you the money. Phil, that was back in 1973, and I'm still waiting on the brother to send my money.
Yeah.
Hey, Leroy, where are you, man?
Where are you, Leroy? Yeah, man.
Yeah, well,
that's what happened.
That's a great story, and you know, and it kind of speaks to how vicious the industry can be for, you know, for folks that may not be fully connected to the business side of that industry.
Definitely.
And so after you had gone through this Clio process, what happened to your career at that point?
What happened was, man, we come back to Italy and things weren't looking up too well, you know. So we did a small tour with a well-known artist here. Her name is Patty Bravo, and we did this tour. It was a nice tour, really nice. And it was me, Rip, and Stan. You know, we were singing and dancing, man. We were highlighting, looking good. But I'm telling you. But after that, things just didn't work out, you know, work-wise. So, you know, you got to live, and Stan and Rip, man, they said, well, man, we just can't, you know, we just can't handle it. So just a minute. I don't know who this is. No, it's okay. So Stan and Rip, man, they just decided, said, we got to go, bro, because ain't nothing happening. You know, and that was really really the end, man. You know, so
okay.
So Stan and Rudy, they had to leave, and that was it. Stan and Rudy, you know, had to leave, and that was it, man. You know, and so then I went through a tough period then. I mean, really tough period. Yeah, because
and how did you navigate that in a market like Italy?
What happened, Phil, was that you know, a lot of times, man, you got to touch below ground, you know, and if you got a good constitution within, maybe you know, can build back up again. So what I did, that was, I you know, went to, you know, different friends, and slowly I got a record deal. You know, I made a record. You know, because like when you with a group, I mean, you the group is known, but you are not known as an individual singer. You see?
Yeah.
So I had to rebuild everything up, man. I mean, real from scratch. You know, but I ran into several people that came around and you know, helped me, you know, to be here and there and so forth. I mean, I'm cutting a long story short, but that's what happened. There were people that came out and believed in me, and you know, and you know, gave me a hand, you know, for records, for gigs, and this, that, and the other. Then I started working with the Rye Television, which is a state television, and that was really good, because at the time I had got married too, you know. I had got married and I had a family, you know. So, and my wife was working, you know, in the television too. So we both, you know, were working, you know, in television, working with the orchestra, working with the choir, and so forth and so on. So things worked out pretty well there until the Rye started laying off the people that were permanent hired, you know. So they started laying them off. So I said, well, look, I'm just a guy that works with you off and on, you know, just a contract here, a contract there. So if you laying off the people that You know, so it's I got to start looking for something else. And so that's when I formed my group, my quintet, man.
Okay.
And it's still going today. It's still going today.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Now, as we start to wind down, I think our guys have got some final questions. George, we want to start out with you.
Yes. What has it been like being an American living in Italy for over 40 years?
It's amazing, George. It's something that that if you don't live it, you won't believe it. I mean, like what the major thing that I think is you have to learn the language and learn the language well. You see, because you got to know what people are telling you. You got to know what you're going to tell people. You gotta just know. You see, so the major thing that I think is to learn the language well, and then you can communicate. You can understand what's going down around you, and you know, and because a lot of times contracts are you got to face contracts, this, that, and the other. So if you don't speak the language, you can never get things done, as well as it would be if you did speak the language. You see, so that's one of the major things that I think that should be done. And I haven't really had any type of difficulty, with people living here. It's been I feel fully integrated. That's what I feel. I feel like I'm fully integrated. No problem whatsoever. No.
Good. That's great.
I mean,
great.
There are problems. There are problems, but I feel I'm able to face them. So that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how about you, Stan?
Well, the only thing I could say, Charlie, you and George amaze me, man, because it takes a certain type of character to do both of y'all did, man. You survived, and I guess because of your humble beginnings, you know what hard times were, and you put your mind to it, and you survived. You survived that, man. You survived that. Yeah. And I'm so proud of both of y'all, man. I know it was an interview, but I have to get it in. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't have that. I had a better foundation because when I left, when I was in the military and left, I worked for a guy who was like a father to me. You know what I mean? And he told me, so when you come back, you got your job. All the time I spent with the focus, and I came back, I got my job back in 4 days after I hit the mainland. 4 days.
Yeah?
Yeah, making good money. You understand what I'm saying? So I had a good foundation, man. I don't know about Rip how to speak for itself, but I'm just saying me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes a strong constitution y'all did, man. And I can't wait for next year to get here. So I'm gonna bring the wife. We're gonna come to Italy and we're gonna fellowship and the whole 9 yards, man.
Man. Yeah, man. I'm waiting on y'all. And it's gonna be so different this time in the sense that there are people that you haven't seen in so long. You haven't seen Bert. You haven't seen Greenie. Greenie was in Rome the other day, man. Greenie.
Right.
You haven't seen Greenie. You haven't seen Ollie. Ollie's in Como. Yeah. Ollie's in Como, man. And
hey, Charlie.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of jump in here because listening audience need to know that we come together once a year in a reunion, and have been doing it now for a whole lot of years. And so next year we're going to be returning to Italy to fellowship there with Charlie and all of the friends that we've known from the past. Now, Rudy, I think you've got a final question as well, right?
Not really a question. I just want to go back and reiterate what George has said. Asked Boom the question. He answered the question. And the same thing that Stan had talked about. And I got to tell you, Boom, not as a question, but as a statement, man. You and George both, actually all of y'all, are real heroes, man, to what it takes to survive in a world, man, that's not always in our favor. And like Stan said, you have to be special, man. I fortunately haven't had any setbacks. The only thing that I really miss is singing. But feeding y'all's pleasure, man, and learning from what it takes to survive and to live, man, it's really overwhelming to make story, Boom, because so much I didn't know.
I know
40 years.
Yeah, man. You know, George had to step up on me, man, because he went into a country, you know, that spoke English. You see, you know, he went into a country that spoke a language that he understood, and my setback was that I had to really, you know, buckle up and learn the language, man. You know?
Yeah.
And Italian.
I don't see how you did it, brother. I don't
That's
see
right.
how you did it.
Yeah, I don't either, man. Boom. The only thing I say, probably the main reason that I didn't stay, man, because I always said if I was going to starve, I was going to starve in America. Because at least I knew the system. But you took the time to learn the system of Italy, man. That's a whole different world of engagement, man. And I got to take my hat off to you on that one, man.
Yeah, that's quite an accomplishment, and
yes, sir.
And I think we all have tremendous respect and admiration for you, and not to mention the fact that we all love you too.
Yes,
for who you are, because it never changed you. Now I have one last question that I'd like for you to just mention, talking about the coming out of Alabama and the kinds of things that you experienced as a young guy and in the civil rights movement. And I can remember in Italy, your closest friend was about a 5'2" white guy. How did that happen?
Yeah, Shorty, man. You remember Shorty?
Yeah.
I've been trying to look up Shorty, man, look him up and everything. I mean, there are a lot of people, you know, got that name, but it's not him, man. It's not him.
Everywhere I would see you, I'd see Shorty.
That's right. Yeah, man. I don't know. We just had a whole lot in common. Me, Shorty, and Wilfork.
Wilfork, yeah.
Because we all shared the same room together too. You see.
Yeah,
the same room together.
That's great. Charlie, go ahead.
And we were all in each other's corner, man. That's, you know what I mean. Really, whether it was no matter what color you were or whatever, we were a tight trio, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We were a really tight trio.
No, that's exactly right. I was always amazed by that because there was always a tussle going on downtown between black soldiers and white soldiers. You know, there's always a fight downtown. But you guys stuck together.
Yeah, man. We didn't want to know nothing about that, you know.
Yeah. Now, Charlie, we're getting ready to wind down, and so I'm going to ask you got a closing comment that you want to make?
The only thing that I want to say is that, you know, like musically speaking, man, I'm happy, you know, because my quintet is good, and there's another quintet that's going. I got a choir of about 30 elements gospel choir, and they're all Italian, and they sing in English, you know. And I'm happy about the way, you know, their pronunciation, because none of them are professionals. There are no professional singers in the choir. They're all, you know, people that love music, and that's just it, you know. And I'm just happy, you know, about that. We got a gospel group which is called the Chicago High Spirits, and it's a quintet too, and it's happening. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me. You know, and anytime, any place, and anywhere. Okay.
All right, that's beautiful. Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, before as we start to shut down, and we're just still up in the air over being able to visit with our brother in Rome, I have one last question for you, George and Rudy. Are you ready for it?
Ready, sir.
What do you call a man with no body and just a nose?
No body.
A nosy body. I don't know.
Huh?
A nosy body. I don't know.
Okay. A nobody nose.
Nobody.
Nobody
knows.
All right, guys.
Well, you need help, man. Get me off the floor, man. Get me off the floor.
Okay.
What do you give a sick bird?
Let's see. Water.
Treatment.
Get me off the floor, man. I can't take it.
Guys. Well, this has been beautiful. Thank you so much again.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next round of the Clio Exchange Express, okay?
All right.
I won't be late.
Toodle-doo.
Okay, the conductor is telling us it's time to move on. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Let us know by sending an email to info@clioexchange-express.com. That's info@clioexchange-express.com. Until next time, we wish you peace of mind, love from the heart, and happiness you cannot explain.